I'm so excited. Today, we are going to be hopping into my new book, Turning Crisis into Clarity: How to Survive or Thrive in the Midst of Uncertainty. This has been a bit of a journey to this point, to a finished book, and just wanted to chat a little bit about that process because we really didn't do that here. And it all started with my mom and I having a conversation. And she said that in the midst of crisis, that can lead to chaos. And for me, I was right in the middle of a major transition. I had just launched my practice. My practice was actually doing really well. I didn't even realize at that time that the job that I was at before, I didn't realize how limiting it was because I was working for a school system and there were some limits to what I could say publicly just because I didn't want to potentially impact our contract that we had with the school from year to year, because somebody could have gotten mad based on something I had said, and that could have impacted the program that I was running. And so really in the midst of that, I really found some clarity in the midst of my crisis, and I was helping my clients do the same. And I just wanted to do a resource. And so my mom was one of the first people that called it a resource. I thought I was writing a book. And she read it and she was like, this is a resource. Go ahead.
Oh my gosh. And that's one of the things I actually love about the book. Okay. Uh and when I say that, because I'm a bookworm. I love, 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 love books. So in this thing, when I opened, I said, this is not just a book. This is like a resource because it has all of these things in it, and then she has tables, and then she shows you, to go get more information. It's almost like Google on steroids, like, I mean, we have not had a conversation like this, so this is gonna be funny. It's like Google on steroids. However, this is her heart. So what I saw in the book, and what you will enjoy in the book, is you get a little flavor of her. You get a lot of flavor about her passion for people. And then you get a flavor about her history, and how even your history, the chaos, the things that you're going through, can be turned into clarity when you continue to move forward. Now, initially, there was a different cover. We're not going to talk about it. However, this cover speaks loudly to the book. Now, the other cover was absolutely amazing. However, this is phenomenal. This really tells you more about the book. And when I say that, I'm not saying it just because it's Patrice Cook, because I'm gonna tell you the truth. I'm one of the people that if it was not good, I would have said, you might want to put that back and rewind.
You might want to try
You
again.
might want to try again. You can print one copy and keep it on your shelf, but you can't share this with nobody. However, this has global reach. Do you hear me? It has global reach because some of the chapters, like, helpers need help too. So it talks about children. It talks about all the things that everybody is going through. It touches on a little bit, and then she says, I'm not going to leave you there. I'm going to give you some other things that you can go back and you can do research on your own so you can build and grow and move forward. So that's what I love. I mean, that's one of the major things. Because I told her, I said, I don't know what you're talking about. This is not a book. This is a resource. What the world? So, and that's kind of how she said, no, it's not. I said, no. This is a resource. It is. It's an amazing resource. You don't want to miss it because it really is.
And the funny thing is, I don't like a lot of fluff. I don't. And so because I have read books that were 300 pages and it's like, this could have been 150. Like, you could have saved, because I'm just skipping words. Like, it's like, okay, there really isn't a lot of fluff in the book. I add some stories to draw in some interest and then help people apply, because sometimes I might not remember exactly what someone said, but I might remember a story that they told. And I also reference my sources, and because there are a lot of my own independent ideas within it, but then I also draw off some other people's ideas and some other thoughts. And so I make sure to cite those people. I'm excited to work towards putting it in an audiobook. And so the chapter that was the most difficult for me was avoiding self-sabotage and imposter syndrome.
So why was that? Why was that so hard? I mean, y'all get a chance to get us on the reel. Why was that so hard? I mean, because I think that's part of it. Because I remember it's disgusting. So why was those chapters so hard?
So self-sabotage was like a piece of the book because I could have worked a little bit more consistently on the book to not come down to my absolute final deadline of like, oh my gosh, I have to have books in hand by July 16th for this conference on the 17th. Like I absolutely have to have them. And so I think I finished writing the book on like the 10th or the 11th. Like it was the turnaround time. Maybe it might have been the 5th. It might have been the 5th, and then the editor had it for some days, and then I got it to the printer. But self-sabotage, sometimes I am the thing that gets in my own way. And I'm getting rid of the word lazy because I used to kind of say, oh, I'm a lazy student, or and it wasn't that I was lazy. It was that I do my best work at like the last minute.
Be careful, because everybody's not like that.
Yes.
Some people are like that because their lives, they have so much going on, so that's when they can produce. Now I'm her mama for real. I'm y'all Momma Johnnie Lloyd, but I'm her mother, like womb mother, right? So I have a tendency of doing that. We're gonna do a quick confession. So what I'm gonna say is, she talks about how you can do things for your children and how you raise children, um, and the things that you want to pass on to them. That's part of your legacy, right? Now, I'm not mad that I'm that kind of person. When I have like a almost nothing to do, I just play and twiddle my thumbs and do stuff. And then I said, oh my gosh, like right now, I'm about to go somewhere and I have to get all this stuff done. And I'm like, okay, I need to go in and do it. That's good. However, we have to be careful that it's not procrastination. So be careful with that.
And you did a whole series on your YouTube channel about procrastination. And I think that is something that I've struggled with and dealt with. And then also, I think there was a piece of me that was a little nervous about putting out my first book. So this is confession time. Okay. I'm telling it all. And I mentioned it in the book. Like within that chapter, I was like, when it came time to write this chapter, I tried to avoid it. Like my chapter on avoidance, I'm like, is there anything else I can do? Is there can I do anything else? I do not want to write this chapter right now. And so for me, growing up, I struggled with my speech. My writing has always been good but it wasn't always grammatically correct, or it wasn't always. I love commas. I love certain things, because for graduate school, I was admitted on a provisional basis because my writing wasn't where it needed to be, which was actually one of the best things that could have happened because it gave me a chance, because there were some gaps in my writing. I didn't understand like the parts of I didn't like I knew sentences go together, words do things, but I didn't know how to make sure, like, hey, you need to make sure you have these parts of a sentence, and this is why you put a comma here, this is why you do a semicolon. So I was able to take a course in graduate school that really helped give me a better foundation. Okay, good. I thought I lost what we were doing, and I didn't.
This is they're offering us an opportunity to to provide clarity in crisis, because what we were just doing, it went like blank. It did this thing. So y'all get a chance to see it in real life. Like you see her face, you'll see her face. So let's
wait a minute.
Okay.
So
okay. So I'm gonna bring my voice down because Patrice, because I have high. So but what the funny thing is what a great opportunity to see what happens. Because the first thing that happens when you're in the middle of crisis is your brain engages in all of that. Now she'll tell you all the legal terms. I'm not going to do that. That's why you got a resource, right? So anyway, but what happens is that, but then you have to overpower that with your physical actions to move forward. So what she did was she said, okay, I'm gonna have to press some buttons now. So you just see she pressed a button and she said, because sometimes you have to go to a place that you have to breathe. So this is what she was talking about. She was talking about the gap that she had, right? So in the middle of the gap, you have to look at something and you said, well, what do I need to do to fill the gap? Because whether it be on your job, whether it be in life, you look at what you're going forward, not just looking at TV and saying there's a gap, because TV will always tell you a gap because they're after your resources, your time, your money, that kind of thing, right? So that's not about TV. That's about when you said she was going to graduate school. That was something that she had a plan. So they identified a gap. And so what she did was she took that situation and she worked on it. And that's the same thing with the book. She gives you tips and tricks and things to work on it. And then she leads you to people that can help you, because everything we can't fix for ourselves. Sometimes we need a community. A lot of times, it did it again. We need a community to do that. So, and then that's the second thing that I'm gonna tell you, which is really funny, is sometimes when you've been through something once, because the same thing came up, right? You didn't see that huge expression on her face.
I knew it was
It's
fine.
because she knew it was fine. And that's how it is. So in the midst of this, y'all gonna get this on here. I know she's gonna mark it off here. But this is what I'll tell you, is that we're in the middle of the D variant and all kinds of things that are happening. Now, I'm not telling you to ignore it. I'm really not. I'm not telling you wear a mask, don't wear. I'm not get a shot. I'm not telling you none of that. However, I am going to tell you this. I'm telling you that you've been this way before. So breathe and do the best you know how to do personally, emotionally, physically, financially to move forward. Because sometimes in the book, it talks about triggers. And so sometimes things happen and we get triggered. Okay, so I've done my stuff.
No, and I'm going to leave all of that in because I think it was really helpful. And being able, cuz part 1, so there are two parts to the book, and part 1 is survival,
Mhm.
because sometimes we just need to get through it. We just need to get through it the best we can. I was in a Clubhouse room yesterday, and a mom is writing a book, and she was trying to figure out TikTok. And I was like, I would love to see TikToks on how you, as a mom, how are you writing? How are you getting writing done with a small child? Because I know my kid watched a little bit more TV, not a ton, but like a little bit. A little bit more TV. Or like, so how did you do it? And so I definitely gave myself grace during that period, and I think that's what you have to do when you're in a crisis. It's like, all right, so normally outside of a crisis, my house, no, not mine, but let's say my house is spick and span, it's glorious, you can eat off the floor, like perfect. My house is perfect outside of a crisis, but in a crisis, maybe maybe the laundry gets done right at the last minute. Maybe, and that's where I really encourage people, and that's in the Helpers Need Help Too
Mhm.
chapter, that hey, if you have kids, have the kids do appropriate chores. If you have support systems, speaking out and reaching out to those support systems. And the listeners of the podcast, you will find that some of the chapters in the book come from some of our conversations here, here on the podcast, and then also some conversations that I've had on TikTok and on YouTube. And so it was a journey, it was a process. So what was your biggest takeaway in the book?
My Like I said, the resource part was my biggest fun takeaway, because Patrice act like, you know, I don't know. I don't want to say Patrice makes it seem like, oh, that's just like we say ABCs. Patrice starts speaking in some other language with all the stuff she knows in her head, right? But what I like about it is that the book is relatable. It's in English. It's not in It's not in, I'm gonna call it doctor jargon. I don't mean that
Yeah.
negatively. I'm just saying it's not so high that anybody can't understand it. It's in everyday language. One of my favorite chapters besides helpers need help too was the sabotage, avoiding sabotage and imposter syndrome, which was what her hardest chapter to write. However, the reason that I really enjoyed this chapter is because in every chapter you talk about conclusion and resources, right? So you go through this and you talk about everything that's happening, right? And you give all that, and then you go to the fact of procrastination or self care, and then you give different snippets, right? And then the other thing, one of my favorite quotes, I have all kinds of stuff. I said, you cannot highlight the whole book, Johnny. That's what I said. You cannot hide the whole book, highlight the whole book. Okay, so I'm gonna do this. And for those who are, one of the things that I absolutely adore about the book is she does all of these like resource charts. Well, I'm very analytical, and I'm a see. I want to see
I'm
it.
a visual
So I'm a
person.
visual. Yeah, that's good. I'm a visual. I'm a tips for helping people who are grieving. I have some really special people in my life, and they're grieving right now. And they've been grieving for a minute. And we went through, as a family, we've been through some grieving things too. And I always thought, this is one of the main things that impacted me. I always thought, from a biblical perspective, like, they're in heaven and blah, 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 and all that stuff you say that can really
Hurt or
hurt the person that's already hurting. And that's not our intent. So when we did this toxic positivity and all of those, when we talked about that, that helped me. That helped me allow the people that I were talking to, which is one of the most vulnerable place. When you're in the middle of crisis, that's a very vulnerable stage. And you don't want anybody to blame, shame, or anything like that because you're trying to reclaim your life. So that's my thing. And this area right here was powerful. I mean, the power of silence. Well, obviously, I talk a lot. So the power of silence for me is like, okay, just be quiet.
but
Breathe.
and I think I talk about the fact that the person, so if I am supporting someone who is grieving, I have to manage my own
Emotions.
emotions,
And you talk about
because
that.
sometimes I want them to kind of like, I if I'm not comfortable with their emotion, then sometimes I might try to like be okay, but they're not okay. And it's really helpful for me to be able to sit with them in the midst of their pain and acknowledge that there is nothing I can do to make them feel better, which is something that I do. I teach a lot to parents because I have a lot of parents that are like, I want my kids to be happy. And it's like, happy? Like you don't have any power over their happiness. Or if you do, then it's going to be codependent. It's
Yeah,
it's
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 a
it's
whole
not going
nother
to
issue.
be not going to be a very healthy relationship. But when someone is grieving, I need to be okay seeing them sad.
Yeah. And the thing about, because she just talks about resilient children, right? And so when you look at your life, this book for me is a life changing book. It's a holistic piece of how to manage our emotions. Because, and when I say that, I'm not saying, one of the things she teach me, she said there are no good or bad emotions. Yeah, I'm learning. Yeah, I'm learning. I'm learning. There's no good, because I have, as I grew up, I was taught that there were bad emotions. However, they're not. And so by being in this space, by reading these books, I think what it impacts, number one, is as the children go back to school, as you end up with, whether it be teachers or parents or you, all of us, there was something in the book for anybody, because all of us are going through something. We used to say this, you're either coming out of a crisis or you're about to enter into a crisis, because life is cyclical. Life is not a, people say, well, let's do success and it's a straight arrow. No, it's not. It's a jiggly line. Success is not a straight arrow. So nor is life. And this book is a life book. It's not just about crisis. It's about being able to see the clarity.
No.
It's about being able to see. Now, we have not had this conversation. That's why
No.
she's getting y'all. Ooh, because we can't talk in advance. Because if we talk in advance, it's a wrap. Because she'd be looking like, what did you say before? I said, like, I don't know. Don't ask me. Because this is from my heart. And I have some people that are reading the book, right? And what they're saying is, especially one who's my brother, and
Oh.
he's saying he can't put it down. He said this is, and so he said, Johnny, this book is just amazing. And so his book is all got notes all over it and stuff. So, but the bigger thing is that it's a step guide for you. Being whole, being can we talk about that for just a sec? Being holistic is not about not being having any broken pieces. Most people that want to say whole, and we define it like this: nothing broken, nothing missing. However, when you look at the plate, if you would look at the plate, right, and you shattered it and you put it back together, you can tell that it was broken before, but it has been mended and put back together. And it's not that the plate cannot be used anymore, it doesn't change its value as a person. This, for me, is going to help people understand that being whole is not about being perfect.
And that's one of my big things, because I think striving for perfection, it drives people, it causes so
Amazing.
many issues.
Mhm.
Because even for me, so there is a minor, so once I come out with with the second edition, eventually, like in a few years I'll do a second edition. I think it's page 52, has a minor, but like you can figure out what words should be there. But and so I like getting feedback like, hey, whoops, I think there's a little typo here. But I did, get an editor, tried to make sure that things were, is it 52? It might not.
Doesn't
I think
matter.
it is. Okay. But just being able to say like, hey, it's okay to make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. And being able to continue to move forward, because I think a lot of people don't launch. They don't launch that book. They don't launch that podcast. They don't make that TikTok because they're like, I want to have it all perfect. And guess what? So my videos that I put the most time, and like my lighting's perfect, my makeup's done, those videos might not even do that well. Like especially over on TikTok. Like normally the videos that are from the heart, that have some passion in them, those are the ones that tend to end up doing a little bit better. But
Yeah,
yeah.
and that's the thing. Going back to one of the things that people do for procrastination is connected to fear. And part of the one of the greatest fears all of us have is the fear of not being accepted, of other people's opinion. So when you put something out like a book or whatever, when you start putting things in a format, whether it be on TikTok or whatever, you get the opportunity for other people to have an opinion, right? However,
Yeah.
people will always have an opinion. They have an opinion when you don't do it. They're going to have an opinion when you do it. They're going to have an opinion because opinions are like certain parts of our body. Everybody has one, whatever part you want to choose. So, this is the deal. You have to do it afraid. You have to do it anyway. And then this is what I like, because I had some issues in my book when I self published. They said, da da da, whatever, whatever. And so I said, well, can you do me a favor?
Right
Can
on.
you go through the whole book and find all the things that you found in it? And then when I do version 2.0, I'll fix it. Thank you so much. And I will even put you in there if you do a lot. I'll put you in there and say.
Thanks so much.
But my point for saying that is that in life, if you wait for perfect, you won't enjoy the now. So many people are looking at their past and saying what they weren't or what happened. And then there are people who are so focused in the future that they're not enjoying the now. Enjoy your now. Enjoy your now. Even in the midst of everything that's on TV, in the midst of all the stuff, maybe not having everything you think you want. Enjoy your now. Enjoy the very moment, because this moment you'll never get again. This moment will be the past, in a few in another moment, it'll be the past. So enjoy it. And so that's what I got out of the book. The holistic part is giving yourself grace.
I would like to thank every single person that wrote a review, especially if you purchased it on Amazon. I encourage you to leave a 5-star review with your feedback about the book there. And I am overwhelmed by the amount of support. I knew it would be, I don't know, like I never knew that it would be this. And the feedback has just it's warmed my heart. It really was a passion project. And once you write your first book, then like other projects, so it becomes easier. The first house you buy, the first, so normally the first thing, sometimes just there are these obstacles, you have to learn the way. But then it typically ends up getting a little bit easier because you know the journey, you kind of know how to go about the process. And so I just wanted to thank everyone from the bottom of my heart. Do you have any closing statements?
Yes, my closing statement besides buy the book. Besides buy the book now. Okay, so she's laughing at me. So no, but seriously, invest in yourself. And so people say, what? Because I do finances, right? They say, what is the greatest investment I can get, my greatest return on, Johnnie? And you know what I tell them? Invest in you. That is the greatest investment you can ever do, is to get the return on the investment that you make in you. So regardless of what situation you're in right now today, continue to move forward and find clarity in the midst of whatever you're going through. Even if it's summer, even if it's wonderful, everything is wonderful. Remember that and find clarity even in that.
I love that. Thank you all so much for listening. Really, the podcast, the support over on TikTok, all of these things really helped bring the book together. And so, once again, I cannot thank you all enough. I do this for you all. I do this for the community. And if you do have any feedback, feel free to reach out on social media. And I hope y'all enjoy the rest of your day.